Alright, check this out. This is the puddle jumper from the year 1934. Here's a photo of the future Queen Elizabeth II being carried up the steps of Balmoral Castle back in 1927. Isn't that sweet? Here's a look at the shoes worn by John Wayne Gacy when he was dressed as Pogo the Clown. Here's a photo of a gentleman lighting a street lamp in Paris back in 1905. Here's a photo from around 1929. It shows a little girl handing lilies to a police officer. They're standing at the Porte Saint-Denis in Paris. Here's a photo from North Carolina way back in 1960. It says, "Do not buy where you will not be hired." Check out this amazing photo of the Royal Navy's tiniest member hanging out with his buddies back in 1941. Here's a photo from around 1910 showing a group of men and women. They're all sitting in a fallen tree. This photo is of Tsar Nicholas II. It kind of looks like he's holding a selfie stick, but back then, in the early 1900s, they didn't have selfie sticks. He was probably just checking the camera when it took the picture. A little Sarakats and a girl spinning wool. This photo was taken sometime in the 1940s. This is a photograph of the Spanish archaeologist Manuel Esteve. He's wearing the Corinthian helmet he discovered back in 1938. Pretty impressive, isn't it? Taken way back in 1949, this photo shows a young Inuit girl in Arviat, Nunavut, which is in northern Canada. She's heading down into her ice igloo house. What a fascinating glimpse into the past. Here's a photo of a couple watching the Apollo 8 spacecraft launch back in 1968. Here's a picture of some uniformed workers, all geared up to avoid catching the plague. It looks like they're wearing some serious protective equipment. Check this out. It's ski sailing, a brand new sport that was invented in Austria. This photo shows it being demonstrated in St. Moritz, Switzerland, back in January of 1938. Here's a sweet photo from 1955. It's the Easter Bunny spreading joy to all the children. Alright, check out this fun shot. It's British actress Barbara Roscoe, and she's in her home cooking and using a hairdryer. This was taken around 1963. Classic. Wow, check out this beautiful woman from the 1920s. Here's a portrait of a young girl and a child taken in Japan around 1908. Here we see George Washington being carved into Mount Rushmore. It's an incredible sight. Here's a picture of a young reader enjoying a book in the park of the Champs-Élysées. This was taken back in 1947. Here's the last photo ever taken of Hachiko, and it was taken on March 8, 1935. Get Off My Lawn, 1950. This photo takes us back to the winter of 1960 in New York. Here's a photo of an American soldier's helmet. You can see the inscription "War is Hell" on it. This photo was taken during the Vietnam War back in 1965. Here's a photo of Betty Grable taken in Los Angeles, California in the United States back in 1943. Check out this awesome robot, El Chispas. It was created in Spain way back in 1953. A photo showing people playing cards in the back of a car. This one's from the 1950s, so it's a bit of a flashback. Here's a photo showing two newsies in New York back in 1896. Here's what it looks like inside a New York City subway car back in the 1950s. This was in Manhattan, of course. Alright, check out this cool shot. It's of a tourist snapping a candid photo way back in Taos, New Mexico. This one was taken in 1940. A little boy has a surprise for his girlfriend. How sweet is that? Here's a fun old photo. This shows a dancing bear, and it was taken in Sussex, England around the year 1900. This photo shows construction happening in New York back in 1949. Here's a shot of Old Faithful Geyser, taken way back in 1870. Here's a sweet picture. It's of a little girl at a pet show in Venice Beach, California, back in 1936. She's got a pet toad with her. Alright, this is an original picture showing a religious ceremony taking place in Spain. Here's a great old photo. It shows twins in homemade costumes way back in the 1930s. Here's an image of a postwoman from the 1910s. Here's a photo of Lieutenant Walter Tuning, catapult officer of the USS Enterprise. It's 1943 and he's jumping onto a burning plane to save the pilot. Here's a somewhat rare picture of a Victorian woman laughing. It's believed to be from the 1880s. Here's a picture of kids hiding under their desks. This was during a civil defence drill back in the 1950s at school. Check out what a treadmill looked like back in the 1920s. Alright, here's a picture that looks like it captures two drunken women going at it on a rooftop in London. It's a pretty old photo dating back to around 1902. Here's a portrait titled Child with Cat, probably from around 1890. Here's a shot of the Chelsea Bridge Rockers. These guys were a group of motorcycle enthusiasts, and they were really known for their rebellious spirit. Here's a shot of Charing Cross Road. It's Beaumont's. This was taken in London back in 1939. Alright, check this out. This is a Colt 38 revolver, but get this, it's got a tiny camera attached. The camera automatically snaps a picture whenever you pull the trigger. Pretty wild, right? This was taken back in New York in 1938. This photo is all about friendship. It makes you think about all the good times, the support and the connections that make life so much richer. It's a simple picture, but the feeling it evokes is anything but. Here's a cute shot. This little motorcyclist is just 6 years old. The photo was taken way back in Buenos Aires in the year 1936. Here's a photo from 1953 showing walking practice at the polio hospital. Here's a photo of Red Cross nurses taking a break back in 1939. Here's a photo of a Red Cross nurse and her rescue dog. It looks like it was taken during World War I. Here's a photo of Marlon Brando taken by Cecil Beaton. It's a portrait from 1947, and it was originally for Vogue magazine. Here's a look at the mummified remains of the Tolland man. He lived over 2,300 years ago. Here's a truly evocative photo. Alright, let's take a look at this photo. It's a real glimpse into the past, showing the elegance on the streets of New York City all the way back in 1928. Here's what Halloween looked like in the year 1900. Here's a shot of Sepulka, the guide robot. This was taken in the Soviet Union way back in 1962. Here's a photo from 1944. It shows a French man gesturing toward two German soldiers. This photo shows a woman getting a ticket for wearing a bikini. The year was 1957. Here's a photo of Stephen Hawking looking very young. He's reading a newspaper at the age of 21. This was taken on May 17, 1963. Look at Albert Einstein rocking those fluffy slippers. This photo was taken around 1950. This is definitely not something you see every day. Looks like it's Take Your Donkey to Work Day in New York back in 1956. This photo was taken on Fifth Avenue in New York. The year was 1949. This photo shows a man who was arrested during the Zoot Suit riots. He's modelling a zoot suit and a pancake hat inside a Los Angeles County jail. The date was June the 9th, 1943. Here's a really touching photo. It shows a German soldier helping a little boy sneak across the Berlin Wall back in 1961. Here's another saucy photo. This one features an Edwardian-era woman striking a pose on a French postcard. It's from around the early 1910s. Here's a picture of an injured dog being cared for in an animal ambulance. Now, this particular ambulance was used way back during World War II. Here's a photo of the Ross sisters doing a small tower. This was taken around the 1940s. Here's a fascinating photo from 1927, showing a nurse using ultraviolet light on babies. It's a bit different from what we see today, but back then, this was a common medical practice. Here's a photo of Lucille Ball on the day she married Desi Arnaz back in 1940. Here's a shot of Dolly Parton back in the late 1960s. Here's a photo of Marilyn Monroe during a ballet lesson in Hollywood. It was taken back in 1949. Right, here are some lovely photos of a young Dolly Parton with her husband. They led an elephant through the streets in London, 1937.